Hello everyone, and welcome to Mythstory, the show where we talk about myths from around the globe. For today's show, we'll be talking about the mythology of several different ethnic groups in Africa. Bantu Mythology. The entirety of this next section is actually kind of controversial. Most sects don't attempt to explain the origin of everything. They deem it to be beyond their comprehension. But I was able to find one concrete creation story from the Bantu in South Africa. Creation. In the beginning, there was nothing but water and darkness. Bumbo was alone. But one day, Bumbo felt a sharp pain in his stomach and began to purge. He vomited up the sun, which makes sense since the Bantu symbolize the high god as the sun. They have no personified form of a creator. The next day, the same thing happens, and he vomits up the moon and the stars. The sun dried up some of the water, and land began to show. He vomited once more, and 10 living creatures came forth. A leopard named Koi, an eagle named Pongo, a crocodile named Ganga, a fish named Yo, a tortoise named Kono, a white heron named Nyanyi, Sets, lightning, a goat named Buddy, a beetle which was unnamed, and a man named Lokoyima. But Bumbo goes on to create other people, specifically 3 sons. They told their father that they would help him finish the world. Nyanyi Ngama created the ants. Changanda created the plants, and Chetty created the kite. He created just this one bird though, while Nyanyi, the white heron, created all the others. The one child Bumbo had issues with was Tisets, lightning. She was a troublemaker, so Bumbo banished her to the sky. Because of this, mankind was without fire, so Bumbo showed them how to make some of their own from the trees. This is where the creation story of the Bantu ends, and now we can delve into the many different stories that come from the various Bantu sects in Africa. Death in the world. One story features a high god named Unkulunkulu. He was born of a reed. One day, he sent a chameleon to bring immortality to humans. He said to it, "Go, chameleon, go and say, 'Let not men die.'" The chameleon set out. It went slowly. It loitered in the way, and as it went, it ate of a fruit of a bush. At length, Unkulunkulu sent a lizard after the chameleon, when it had already set out for some time. The lizard went, and it ran and made great haste, for Unkulunkulu had said, "Lizard, when you have arrived, say, 'Let men die.'" So the lizard went and said, "I tell you, it is said, 'Let men die.'" The lizard came back again to Unkulunkulu before the chameleon had reached the destination. The chameleon, which was sent out first, to go and say, "Let not men die." At length, it arrived and shouted, saying, "It is said, 'Let not men die.'" But men answered, "Oh, we have accepted the word of the lizard. It has told us the word. It is said, 'Let men die.' We cannot hear your word. Through the word of the lizard, men will die." In some areas, this myth replaces the lizard with a hare. In another sect, primarily the Rwanda culture, death came differently. They recognize a supreme god named Imana. He was a helper in difficulty and distress. He's never prayed to directly though, more like wishes, such as, "If Imana were here, he would help me." Imana, once upon a time, used to talk to men. One day he said to man, "Do not go to sleep tonight. I am coming to give you good news." There was a serpent hidden in the hut, who overheard these words. The man kept awake till dawn, after which he was overpowered by sleep, and did not hear when Imama came and called him. Imana thought the man was speaking, and said, "You will die. You will rise again. You will grow old, but you will get a new skin, you, your children, and your grandchildren." The next morning, the man went to see Imana and complained that he had not received any message. Imana asked, "It was not you then to whom I spoke in the night?" "No." then it must have been the snake, who is forever accursed. If anyone comes across the snake, let him kill it. Let them kill one wherever they find it. But as for you, you will die, and your children and your children's children. After this story, we can head to something all the cultures agree on. Their Hercules, their hero, Ryang'ombe. Ryang'ombe. Let's talk about Ryang'ombe's parents. His father, Babinga, was the king of ghosts. His mother had the power to turn herself into a lioness and frequently killed her father's cattle, an unlikely couple. Because of this, her father forbade her from herding his cattle. Her rage frightened Babinga, so they separated but later remarried. They would finally birth Ryang'ombe, whose birth was strange. According to legend, he could speak prior to his birth, and upon coming out of the womb, he ate an entire ox. His name means eater of an ox, and his full name means little man who eats a whole ox. Further down the line, Ryang'ombe offers to take his father's place as king of ghosts when Babinga dies, but he is met with backlash by one of Babinga's followers. Pamatimuchuni, but we'll just call him Al, challenges Ryang'ombe to a game of Kisaro. The winner would become Babinga's successor. While they were playing, Ryang'ombe's son, Benigo, watched. Keep in mind that on the way over to the cabin, Benigo had killed 2 men and a baby, obviously pretty short-tempered. Benigo gives Ryang'ombe a tip on how to win. Al gets angry and screams at Benigo. Benigo then kills Al, and by default, Ryang'ombe becomes the successor to Babinga. One day, years later, Ryang'ombe went hunting, accompanied by his sons Kagoro and Ruanga, 2 of his sisters, and several high spirits. His mother tried to dissuade him from going, as during the previous night she had 4 strange dreams, which seemed to be prophetic of evil. She had seen first a small beast without a tail, then an animal all of one color, thirdly, a stream running 2 ways at once, and fourthly, an immature girl carrying her baby without a carrier. She was very uneasy about these dreams and begged her son to stay at home, but he set out. Before he had gone very far, he killed a hare, which, when examined, was found to have no tail. His personal attendant at once exclaimed that this was the fulfillment of his mother's dream, but Ryang'ombe only said, "Don't repeat a woman's words while we are after game." Soon after this, they encountered the second and third omens, but Ryang'ombe still refused to be impressed. Then they met a girl carrying a baby without the usual skin in which it is supported. She stopped Ryang'ombe and asked him to give her a carrier. He offered her the skin of one animal after another, but she refused them all until he produced a buffalo hide. Then she said she must have it properly dressed, which he did. Thereupon, she said, "Take up the child." He objected, but gave in when she repeated her demand, and even at her request, gave the infant a name. Finally, weary of her importunity, he said, "Leave me alone," and the girl rushed away, was lost to sight among the bushes, and became a buffalo. Ryang'ombe's dogs scented the beast, gave chase, one after the other, and when they did not return, he sent his friend to see what had become of them. He came back and reported, "There is a beast there, which has killed the dogs." Ryang'ombe followed him, found the buffalo, speared it, and thought that he had killed it. But just as he was shouting his song of triumph, it sprang up, charged, and gored him. He staggered back and leaned against a tree. The buffalo changed into a woman, picked up the child, and went away. At the very moment when he fell, a blood-stained leaf dropped out of the air on his mother's breast. She knew then that her dream had in fact been a warning of disaster, but it was not until a night and a day had passed that she heard what had happened. Ryang'ombe, as soon as he knew he got his death wound, called all the spirits together and told them to call his mother and Benigo. They came at once and found him still living. Benigo, when he had heard the whole story, asked his father in which direction the buffalo had gone. Having had it pointed out, he rushed off, overtook the woman, brought her back, and killed her, with the child, cutting both in pieces, so he avenged his father. Ryang'ombe then gave directions for the honors to be paid him after his death. These are, so to speak, the charter of the Bantu society which practices these rituals. He specifically insisted that Nkanzo, the ghost that fetched Benigo and his mother, as a reward for her services, should have a place in these rites, and accordingly we find her represented in the initiation ceremonies. Then, at the moment when his throat tightened, he named Benigo as his successor, and so died. These are some of the most important stories in Bantu mythology. There's much more to it though, such as the spirits that inhabit volcanoes, the chosen few mortals who went to heaven and came back. The Bantu don't even believe in eternal life. They believe that when you die, you become a spirit, but cease to exist when nobody remembers you. Thanks for watching this episode of Mythstory on Bantu mythology. Make sure to like and subscribe, and tell us what mythology you want us to cover next in the comments below. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, it's just as you assuming it's nothing but these humans who like to blame mythology for everything they're doing. They pray for non-existent gods to clean up the mess, but never take responsibility, just claim it's a test. See, that religion you've been given is shit and it's all poison. And it's partially the reason we bleed and it's all poison. Your worldview is poison, your outlook is poison. Denied all you want, but the truth is it's all poison.